very hip to be on the internet right now. It's crypto only, mate. I would not touch crypto in a million years. Crypto. The United States will be the crypto capital of the planet. We're all together. We're all one.
Okay, where's the gold?
For the first time in the human race, we have unleashed a freedom virus.
Oh god, why are people listening to me? I'm just a guy.
Welcome everyone to the Top Signal Show. We're back for another exciting week of market updates and talking with some of the top builders and influencers in this space, shaping everything that we do in Web3. We're so excited to be here. We're going to be chatting through some exciting new trading tools on OKX as well. Quick disclaimer before we get into it. Everything shared on this show is for informational purposes only and reflects our guests' own views, not necessarily those of OKX. This is not financial advice. Crypto is risky, so always do your own research. I'm Elizabeth Olsen. I'm a product marketing director at OKX, and I'm joined here today with Kamsky, co-founder of Mood Labs. What's up, Kamsky? How are you doing?
Hi everyone, I'm so pumped, and today we have a very special episode of our of Top Signal, and I've prepared my pudgies here. I know you have yours too. Yes. So yeah, we're gonna be talking alpha. We have a lot of things to go through, so I'm super excited, and he is too.
Yeah, we as you can probably guess, we are sporting a lot of Pudgy merch today on the show because we have the CEO of Pudgy Penguins with us today, Luca Netz. We're going to bring him up in just a few minutes. We're really thrilled to have him on the show today for so many reasons. Obviously, any show would be amazing to have Luca, but I think especially today we have a really big product update that just launched. So we're going to be getting into that later in the show. We also have some alpha around something we've been cooking up at OKX with Pudgy Penguins that you're all going to want to know about and you're all going to want to be a part of. And if you're not, there's going to be some FOMO. So make sure you stick around as we get through that. But yeah, basically today also we'll be sharing top signals that you should be keeping an eye out on in the market. There's a lot of things. It's been pretty exciting past week in crypto, everything from Neon fundraising to MetaDAO and Avicii Coin and this Monero versus Zcash meta. And then obviously so many other exciting things that we can kind of get into the trenches around. But yeah, Camps, you want to kick it off and like let's get into some more macro top signals. Like what do you see happening these days that you feel like is really driving the space?
So I feel like we've been going from, like periods of calmness and dryness in the market to suddenly like a lot of news or non-news. CPI numbers were meant to come out, but usually they update them once a month. And I don't know when's the last time they haven't, but due to the government shutdown, they decided not to give them. So they've been delayed. I know that the U.S. House is returning to Washington to potentially vote to end what is like now the longest shutdown for the U.S. government, which I'm not affected, but I know a lot of people that, especially those that have been traveling, have been struggling a lot. So hopefully that gets resolved. So. And
yeah,
also,
I was actually internationally traveling this weekend, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get back
I'm glad you made it
in time for the show. So thank God. Yeah, no, it's definitely been a bit volatile in the U.S. around that. Yeah, and hoping that everybody can get resolved soon. It looks like a 92% probability we'll get a resolution vote. So crossing fingers there for sure.
I hope for you guys. I mean, it's definitely affecting all of the markets. So these are all things that, if you're looking at charts, if you're looking at, trading, these are things to keep in mind. Also, big news. I don't know if you guys have seen The Big Short, but Michael Burry is closing down his hedge fund, and he's saying that he doesn't understand the stock market, today's market. So this is some like pretty crazy news. To be honest, he's definitely a really, I would say, like iconic figure. So yeah, if let's see, pretty
wow.
Yeah, there's some crazy news honestly this week. And then I'm gonna bring up some charts here that we have. So I was looking at Bitcoin. We've been like hovering around this like 100, the 100 level. Are we gonna go down there? I don't know. But it's definitely been, like retesting those levels. And also for 9 consecutive days, there's about like $2.1 billion that have flown out of the Bitcoin ETF. About ETFs, it's almost Solana breakpoint, and that's going to be happening in Abu Dhabi on the 11th to the 13th of December. And historically, it's always been a very bullish time for Solana. Let's see, is this year still going to be the case? But, historically, there's always been quite a bit of a run after breakpoints. So it's quite of a big, event to keep in mind, or at least, have an eye on. We don't really know if it's going to be happening. I wonder, do you guys think we're going to be seeing a rally again? Yeah, hopefully so. And
yeah, what's up, chat? What do you guys think? Everybody who's tuning in, like, do you think you're going to be showing up to Abu Dhabi, or I'm also curious to hear if people are going out to Art Basel. I actually did take a poll about a month ago asking people, are you going to go to Abu Dhabi and Dubai versus Art Basel? They're happening around the same time. So yeah, we're definitely going to have presence at both places. So it has to do with some of the alpha later on the show today. But yeah, just kind of curious what you guys are seeing and where you think you're going to be pulling up this quarter.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm so zoomed in, I can't even see the chat right now. But definitely shout out to the chat.
And I know there were quite some big news for OKX that we were chatting before the stream. Obviously, it's been 3 years, 3 years that FTX basically halted withdrawals. Quite a significant event that affected a lot of people. I'm still waiting for funds to come back myself, and I know that OKX is one of the few that actually has a proof of reserve. And I know that there was a report, right, that came out regarding this.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought it up. It's crazy. It's like been 3 years since FTX. I literally remember where I was in New York City when I heard the news. I was like in the subway in Times Square, and I saw this news, and I just changed my career to be in crypto.
Oh my
And
God.
seeing this was just absolutely devastating, because I was like, oh my goodness, like I remember feeling this feeling of embarrassment, like what are my, former colleagues, like what are people gonna think that I've like now changed, transitioned into crypto, and this is the state of crypto. But yeah, I think that's one thing that has drew me to OKX in the first place, is that we were the first centralized exchange to pioneer a monthly proof of reserves report. So we have full accountability. We just published our 36th report confirming over $35.4 billion in assets, fully backing all customer funds. And it's great that we have this transparency with our clients. I think that's so important, especially I think that's one of the biggest things in crypto right now is there's been there's been a breach in trust, and I think OKX has done a great job over the last years to garner back and build the foundations of trust and show that, hey, we're here to stay, we're here for we're the real deal here, and we're here for those who want to work with us. So yeah, that's been an exciting thing to see come to fruition after, all these years. Yeah, and then getting to the trenches,
Yeah, about trust
there's been a lot
actually.
of drama. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot, and about you were mentioning trust, right? There's actually a new launchpad that just came through, and they are targeting celebrities, and we're starting to see some new celebrity coins come back. And Neon, wait, let me share my screen because this is quite big. Here, let me get it bigger so you guys can see it. Why is it not? Here we go. So, if you're into watching streamers, Neon is probably one that you would have not missed. And he just raised over $1.5 million in his pre-sale for his coin. This is a new launchpad that just came out, and Iggy Azalea is one of the advisors, and we've been seeing them like stream together for a bit. Like there's been some what I thought was just like friendly flirting and so on, but this led to actually working together. And yeah, like there's been a lot of like I would say like backlash and from the community about having a celebrity obviously coming in and trying to raise for a token, which historically, if we've all seen, the Hectua coin and celebrity coins, they haven't necessarily performed very well. If not, a lot of them have been abandoned or just like rugged. So this is what, yeah, people are saying. This token will rug harder than the crash. Well, let's see. Apparently they claim so the launchpad claims to have a method to actually not rug, and so their whole narrative is about having safe tokens that are not going to be rugging their users. What do you guys think about this? Obviously, I see some comments coming in already. I feel like you guys are set pretty much, but yeah, this is I'm not sure when they're going to be launching, but definitely it's been interesting to see. And if this goes well, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of other celebrities come through, including Neon and his friends. I mean, he's pretty well connected in that space. So I'm curious to see. I don't want to be straight up negative. Of course, like there's we've all been kind of like traumatized. But yeah, and people are saying no actual project behind it. No, well, it's a celebrity coin, right? So it's a creator coin, just the same as I know Iggy also has a coin. Maybe I can like screen share. Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like people are also kind of losing faith in the whole Believe ecosystem. It seems like these projects are just starting to launch elsewhere instead of staying there. They're migrating out, and essentially people are it's kind of become like a mimetic joke, but also people are like, but actually, is it serious that like Ben has chosen Evelyn over Believe? For the record, I think Evan's a great content creator. She's a lot of fun.
Do you
and
watch
she's,
her? Do you watch her YouTube?
and successful in her. I've watched parts of her YouTube, and I may or may not follow her on Instagram. But yeah, I do. Yeah, maybe there's been a distraction there. Who knows? But obviously, like any ecosystem, it's a tough market. So any ecosystem right now, it's tough. So let's see. But in general, it does seem like teams are losing confidence there. But the privacy meta is still pretty strong. thanks to probably multiple posts. So, yeah, are you a Zcash or Monero girl, Kamsky?
My God, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I mean, the privacy discussion is very, it's very interesting, right? And we are seeing also, besides Monero and Zcash, a lot of projects that are coming up and that are offering privacy for also, just transactions. Like, imagine if a company is going to be integrating crypto payments within their company, they would want to have some level of privacy and not expose
Right.
their employees information and like paychecks and so on. So there's definitely a need for privacy, especially if we're going to be having crypto be adopted by companies and enterprises and so on. So it's definitely an interesting point. If you are, I wouldn't say late to Monero, but there's definitely some interesting projects that are coming up and will probably be coming up related to privacy. So if you want to be early, that's definitely a meta that's like super hot. I think anything consumer crypto is as well. And we saw obviously a very viral post from Avicii that obviously everybody's been replicating and so on. As you can see here, this is like a crypto card. They offer like banking services. I think they have a card, and yeah, it's just easy to use. But yeah, they made this statement apology, which was pretty viral, and everybody just copied it. And also, they have a coin, which this is what the chart looks like. Obviously, your research, but it is definitely interesting to look at projects that have real utility and are good. But anyway,
Speaking,
yeah.
I was oh,
Sorry.
sorry to cut you.
No, go for it. Go for it. That's
I was gonna
fine.
say, speaking of projects that are amazing and have utility, I know we actually ended up starting the show a bit late today. We were running some technical issues, but we do want to bring up our star guest of the day, Luca Netz, with us from Pudgy Penguins himself. Um, Luca is one of the most powerful. He's CEO of Pudgy Penguins, one of the most powerful brands bridging Web3 and mainstream culture. Under his leadership, Pudgy's grown from an NFT project into a global IP empire, from Walmart's shelves to millions of fans online, and now the launch of Pengu token. Luca's known for turning narrative into network and having an effect for proving that crypto brands can fully go mainstream. Luca, welcome to Top Signal.
We're
You're on.
so excited to have you here. I know people call you the big bird, right? Is that a good nickname? We have
Well,
our
the ironic part about that moniker was I grew up being called Big Bird. So Big Bird's from Sesame
Oh,
Street, the yellow bird. So my dad, I used to play soccer growing up, and I had this huge growth spurt, and I was super fast. But when I had the growth spurt, I became a lot slower and a lot more. I used to move like Big Bird, the way that like my body would move around. So I don't know if you guys know, but I'm like 6'7". I'm a big dude, and I got that nickname. And then ironically enough, my career when I was 22, 23, I ended up buying Pudgy Penguins, and then I technically became the Emperor Penguin, the big bird of the penguins, right? The biggest bird. So here we are. But I thought that was maybe some interesting lore for the audience.
very, very well suited. Well, welcome. We're super pumped to have you here.
I'm stoked to be here.
We have Anna
yeah,
Sealer.
Luca. Yeah, thanks so much for joining. We have so much to chat with you about today. But obviously, I feel like just to like zoom out, we want to know like what's your secret sauce to Pudgy Penguins? Like, is there's would you describe it as like a playbook at this point? Is this something that you think other projects could apply these principles and have a similar success, or is there like something really unique and special to Pudgy here where you feel like, hey, this is what garnered our success? Obviously, like they're freaking adorable, and like who wouldn't want to buy this at Walmart and have adorable. I love the Instagram videos too. The content's fantastic. But yeah, what's the playbook behind Pudgy?
Yeah, I think there definitely is a playbook. I believe, if you were to look at the landscape of NFTs and memes, I think a lot of people, if not a majority of the biggest projects, are quote unquote following the playbook. I think the playbook, though, on its face is simply just proliferating the penguin. Like, I put marketing above everything. If you continuously market and gain awareness and invade the hearts and minds of both crypto people and everyday people, eventually that will snowball into relevancy, cultural relevancy, emotional relevancy, eventually financial relevancy. And so I think a lot of people do, copy this playbook, and I could rinse and repeat this playbook, but there's an independent variable that everybody completely under indexes, which is the magic that is the Pudgy Penguins IP. And so though you can look at everything that we're doing and copy it to a T, you'll see, people doing that, and then their success will be a fraction of Pudgy Penguins is. And I think the differentiating factor is the character. Now, a lot of people let the character blind them, right? They're like, oh, well, the penguin doesn't resonate with me. This other thing resonates with me. But it's a really unsophisticated way to underwrite, the upside of the penguin versus the next character. And if you were to just unbiasedly underwrite this character versus the other characters, you'll find that Pudgy Penguins is the most universal of the bunch. Men love it, women love it, Asia loves it, America loves it, Europe loves it, 5-year-olds love it, 60-year-olds love it. And that your IP that you might have affinity towards does not have the same depth of prose that the Pudgy Penguin IP does. So when you have this universally beloved character, this cute penguin, this basically the epicenter of cute on the internet today, and then you apply these strategies of, PFPs and, listing distribution and Giphy and, stickers and Instagram and toys and products and licensing, and you put the conglomerate behind it, then you have this explosive success that is Pudgy Penguins. But if you try to take the playbook and apply it to something, that's not a penguin, right? That doesn't have those same ingredients, then the virality falls flat, because eventually you're servicing a customer base that's finite. I truly believe the Pudgy Penguin customer base, the TAM, is infinite, because at a certain point, everyone comes around to the penguin, just a matter of if, not when. But there is a playbook, but the playbook can only be applied to, I think, magical characters that expand and I think have the TAM that Pudgy Penguins does. And that's why I think you see others who kind of follow in our footsteps do well, right? And I want more and more people to follow, but I think they'll never be Pudgy. They'll never be Pengu, because I think the magic that lives within the Pudgy Penguin is one of a kind.
Do you think?
Oh, sorry. I was
Go ahead,
wondering.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering because there's a lot of talk about, IP, and obviously Pudgy Penguin has been at the forefront of that. I was just wondering, like, what's your take on Web3 IP as a whole? Because it's always easy, right? When you're starting, you want to have a startup, and a lot of founders often position themselves as like, oh, I'm basically, let's say, the Pudgy Penguin of this ecosystem, or I want to be the next Pudgy Penguin. It's always easier to say that. In a way, you do want to elevate your brand by associating yourself to an easy concept that's already proven, but you're risking to setting yourself up to failure, because your success, like you're mentioning, has, something that cannot be necessarily replicated in a sense. So what's your take on like Web3 IP? Obviously you are, you're an exception, but do you think that it's something that others should be pursuing per se, or is it, you're just like, really good at what you do and you kind of like broke through? Because we haven't really seen, a Web3 IP really break through the stratosphere, maybe except for like, Yuga with Bored Apes, and they had a lot of support, right? And the market was on their side. So just curious on your take of that.
It's a great question. I'm a huge believer in Web3 IP. I think it's going to be one of the great onboarding mechanisms to get people into crypto the right way. And I mean the right way, meaning the emotional way and not the financial way, because eventually crypto has to cross the chasm of being emotionally prudent for people, and not just the hope of getting rich or losing those, making riches or losing riches. So that's why I take that stance. But I do believe in Web3 IP. I think Web3 IP is actually the future of IP, because I believe in IP that aligns its early believers and collectors. I think it's a better business model than the traditional IP business. I think the traditional IP business, don't even take my word for it, is at an all-time low. They keep remaking the same stories over and
That's
over
so
with different
true.
animatic casts.
How many Avengers movies are we
Yeah.
gonna be able to? I can't.
It's awful, right? And so I think there needs to be innovation, and the only place that I think is innovating in IP is in Web3. Um, and I think there's going to be many winners. Now, I believe Pudgy Penguins will be the biggest winner, and I'll go into that why into why I think that in a sec. I think foundationally, I think a lot of people under index. You may want to be Pudgy Penguins, but if I think you understand the depth of execution across all the different tiers of what we do, the team, remember when I bought this project, I assembled what I thought was the Avengers to go and do something like this. What I find in other people who are ambitious in pursuing the Pudgy Penguin vision and dream, and I want them to do it, and I want more people to do it because I think there'll be many winners. The problem that I see though with those teams is they're foundationally not built for that, right? Like, for example, if we didn't have Peter, who's our chief creative officer, who owned like a creative agency before this, who had, 20, 30, 40, 50 employees, when we absorbed them, 40, 50 employees, when we absorbed them, this would have never worked, right? Like you need a giant creative team. You need, I would also say, me as a founder, that relationship between Web 2 and Web 3, and really being able to communicate to our community that it's impossible to convince me that building a huge Web 2 business is immensely beneficial for Web. I mean, you see this the other day. I mean,
you had an e-commerce background before coming to Web3, right? So you really understood like this idea of like trends and, like leveraging hype and growing communities and so on. And that's what you applied, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. About IP and Web2, can we talk about Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah, it's a good one.
I love Kung Fu Panda.
It's
like,
good because they're
so
both pudgy. They're the two pudgiest characters in the IP world.
They are.
I think you'll see a lot with us over the next 12 months between Pengu and Po.
Oh my god, I'm so excited! Is it going to be? Have you watched Kung Fu Panda, Elizabeth?
Yeah. So the ironic part, and this is how serendipity some of this journey has been. I'm not a big animatic film guy. But the first true animatic film, I remember in the 6th grade with my friends Eder Satina and a bunch of other people, and Richard Peralta, and basically I'm just reminiscing on my childhood friends. But we all went to go see Kung Fu Panda, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th grade we saw, and then the second one we saw in 8th grade. And we used to go to the Grove. There was this place in Los Angeles called the Grove, and we used to sneak into the movie theater. I remember we snuck into Kung Fu Panda for the first time, and I loved it. And it was probably one of the only animatic series in my teenage years that I followed. I didn't follow, obviously when I was young in elementary school, we followed it a lot. Teenage years, I wanted to be the cool kids. I was like, animations, maybe not. Obviously a little naive at the time. But I really...
Airbender?
I was big on Airbender, but I was big on Airbender the series. I was not big on Airbender the movies. I thought the movies were a disaster.
Horrendous movies. Yeah. Very rough to watch. Yeah, I didn't even finish, but yeah, so bad.
But yeah, long story short, Kung Fu Panda, ironically enough, there's a lot of IPs I have no affinity towards. I actually have a deep emotional affinity towards Kung Fu Panda just because of that series of events in middle school.
I love that.
How did you even get connected to Pudgy? Because I understand you're technically not the founder of Pudgy Penguin. So how did you even get involved in the first place? Like, what's the lore there?
So the lore, shortly put, was I was a big collector of Pudgy Penguins. I was a collector, and I had this group chat with like a bunch of big NFT and crypto guys, and they were all signaling stuff. And the only thing I ever signaled in that chat was Pudgy Penguins around 0.1 ETH floor when they first minted around that time. And I just viscerally knew, my instinct was like, this is the winner out of all of them. So Punks had come out, Apes had come out. Viscerally, I saw this and I was like, this is the winner. Unequivocally, I just knew. But unfortunately, the founders were just a little in over their head. They weren't able to execute. They were kind of making mistake after mistake. Now, thankfully, they were around my age. They're a little bit younger than me. But typically when you can kind of see somebody eye to eye culturally from like a generational perspective, we were able to kind of, at least have some sort of dialogue, at least post me wanting to acquire it, that I think actually made me be the one to acquire it. But they they had a huge rise and then a huge fall. But they had a great community, a great culture. I mean, I think it was one of the true first mimetic communities crypto's ever seen. Truly mimetic, not like, oh, we're memes, we're mimetic.
Epic.
Like they were really, if you looked at early Pudgy Penguins, content, it was insane. Like nobody was doing it like these guys and gals. And so I ended up, again, super serendipity. I won't give you the long story, but I ended up placing a bid. Other people in the community started what we called rioting. They wanted the founders out. People started placing public bids throughout the X sphere. I ended up just placing a bid unconsciously on X. It turned out that, ironically enough, 2 weeks before, I was on a boat with Cole Ethereum, who was the CEO and founder, childhood best friend. It's ironic because I don't go on boats. I don't go out even. So the fact that I was on a boat with like 7 people and one of them turned out to be Cole Ethereum's childhood best friend, he gave me a ring and said, hey, is that bid serious? I said, yes. He then connected me to Cole, who said, hey, if you didn't know my friend, I would have never even engaged because I thought you were bluffing and it was just a giant meme. I then kind of convinced him why I was the person. I then went into a debate. Me and this guy called Zach debated in front of the community for a couple of days as to who was the best founder and leader potential. I think I won those debates. It was really clear this guy had different intentions, though he was sweet and probably, a crypto purist. I feel like he wanted Pudgy Penguins to segue it into his, marketplace business. I wanted to buy Pudgy Penguins because I felt like we were going to be bigger and better than CryptoPunks and Bored Apes, and there was no reason why we couldn't. And then the rest is history. So it was a little bit of a kerfuffle and a debate for a couple months there, but I ended up winning the bid, and here we are.
Are you still in touch with the initial founders?
Yeah, totally. They're super sweet. I think, again, Cole and I are relatively the same age. I think he's a couple years younger. He came up kind of the same way I did, drop shipping, then segued. So, he's a great kid, and he's going to win. All those 4 guys are going to win.
You must be proud. Even if you must be like really proud, because ultimately, like, this is like also his creation, and he just
talked to their moms even. As crazy as it sounds, because again, they're all like a couple years younger. So their moms are still there's one, I won't dox her, but one woman's like active in the community. She's the mom, one of the moms of one of the kids.
Cool.
She owns a bunch of Pudgies. She's like, you're doing great. The Pengu airdrop, she was like, you changed our whole family's life. Thank you so much. Like, it's pretty awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah, the airdrop was incredible. I think, to be honest, like nobody would have like really expected. And sometimes, you have to really follow the signs. And also as a collector, you have to pick the one that really that speaks to you, and you never know what's going to happen, right? And now there's also talks about having a Pengu ETF. When is the Pengu ETF going to happen? Is this still is this something that we're going to be seeing anytime soon?
It's in the limbo, but I think you're going to see anything that any other crypto project has that's institutional. We will have. I think I'm being really methodical, and at least the ETF stuff, like it's in the power who's bee's hands. It's now with the part of the process where I functionally can't do anything. But we did all the hard parts, right? And so the CBOE picking it up and things like that were huge signals. But past that, we don't have, I don't think we're going to have anything or not have anything that the next person has, and if not more. So I think you'll see more from us, but the ETF specifically is in the power that bees hands.
Well, Luca, I remember like seeing some like videos of you going in an event and just like with your hand just like shaking every single person that was in line for that event. And apparently this is just something you do at all events. And so I was wondering, like, as a founder, like, what does your day-to-day life look like? How are you able to both be so deeply ingrained into the community and show up for people in such a personable way, but at the same time, like, and here you are, we're so happy to have you on the show. But then also at the same time, like, obviously you're functioning, it's a company, it's you have a whole team, and you guys have offices, and you're working on all these different projects. So yeah, what is day-to-day life in the founder look like that you've like really self-signed yourself up for, from being the reply guy in a Pudgy Penguin chat?
Yeah, I think my job is really it can be hard because, when things are stressful, then my job becomes a lot of things. But I really empower, I think, first and foremost, the team. The enterprise value is big for us. Like, it was very clear the first couple of years that if any of one of like the 4, 5, 6 horsemen, meaning like the 6 top executives at Igloo, like if one of them were to drop or like leave, that the business would be in a really tough shape. And so I'm actually like pretty aggressive and ruthless and making sure that everybody plays their roles. I just got into a little bit of a spat a couple days ago with some members on the team, worried about other parts of the organization. Like, it's not your problem. We have so much, you have so much on your plate. Like, don't worry about what other people are doing. We really just need to, like, I empower these guys to lead and to own their respective companies and departments. And I think there's many people in the entire Igloo organization that could be the CEO of Igloo, which I think really puts us in an advantage. There's many high level capable operators who understand every part of the business, which allows the businesses to run and to grow the way that they've been running and growing. I think my day-to-day life is, for a very long time, it was 12, 14-hour days of calls nonstop, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I got on the verge of really hurting myself, I think, physically and mentally. Now it's probably a little less calls, probably 5, 6 hours of calls every single day, 5, 6 days a week. And then I'm really just trying to spend my time focusing on critically thinking about needle moving decisions that are either in the process or needle moving decisions that have yet to happen. Our big sprint at Igloo is we want to IPO before the Trump presidency is over. I think it'd be a huge mistake if we didn't. I think it'd be a huge opportunity to provide value for Pengu holders and Pudgy Penguin NFT holders. I already know how I would do it. And I think we have all the ingredients to get it done. I think we've got some really huge deals and things in the pipeline that we've been working on for years. And so I'm really just focused on the things that are going to change the trajectory of this company and less on like in the weeds. I actually spend a little less time on the community stuff than I used to. Partly because I really want to take a huge swing as to like leveling this company up, because I know that if we do what we need to do, I can, bring the holders in the community to places that I think they can't even fathom. And so I'm doing a less of like the nitty gritty guerrilla stuff that I had done. Really, I spent the last 3 years doing, and I'm really trying to take huge swings at that. And I'm really trying to hit home runs to the point of like what you're talking about though, like, in the moments where I do have to be present for the community, I really try my best to do the obvious. I mean, I just don't know, there's this like really interesting, pretentious entitleism amongst founders and community members in crypto. I think it's a huge mistake. At the end of the day, I was a community member. I was sitting in those lines. I was waiting to get into events. I wish that these guys wouldn't look at me like a evil villain from an ivory tower, as if they're so much better than we were, almost like this pompous attitude.
I think that's the beauty of that's the beauty of Web3 as well, right? You get to actually have this direct, and for founders as well, you get to have this direct, access to a founder, and it brings everything closer. But also, one thing to keep in mind, right? Like, growth is accelerated, and personal growth also gets accelerated in crypto, right? So if you meet someone today, do not underestimate the velocity at which they will accelerate their growth if they put themselves through it. There is really not that many barriers of entry if you really hustle and get to it in crypto. It's a very young industry, and so it's really nice and refreshing to see founders that are actually really there. I wouldn't say like even down to earth, but just like having that engaging conversation with their audience, which ultimately benefits them.
Yeah, I also really love how you said that on your team you have people that are just as well apprised of everything happening within the organization and could themselves be CEO of Pudgy Penguins. I think that like really speaks a lot to your leadership and how you're developing your team and how you're making it so that it's not just like one point of failure, you could say. Like, if there's just one face of the company, just one person, then what if something happens, or what if that person goes rogue? And the fact that like, no, the entire organization is so strong and has such a strong foundation. I think that's so important as a company, especially an NFT company where you are a big figure of Pudgy Penguin. So I think it would provide a lot more assurance to holders, to people who are investing, to know that, hey, this is a really strong team, and at any moment things can change, and we're still going to be here. We're still going to be here for the long term.
Yeah, I agree.
What is
Well,
I saw some comments in the chat, by the way. I wanna bring up what's
oh yeah.
what is the plan for abstract in the near future?
Yeah, so abstract, I think, has a lot of great things coming down the pipeline. I actually think, I alluded to something called Project Quantum, which was like a really big thing we've been working on for the last 6 months. I think, unfortunately, just because of the way it's positioned, I probably wanted to announce it later on, but I think the researchers of the world will probably figure out what it is before the year's over, depending on how hard they research. But we've been working really hard on Project Quantum. We've been really working hard on, I think, the on-ramping and off-ramping. And then really, I think, curating the vision. I think the vision finally for abstract is going to be communicated super clearly before the year's over. What do we want to solve? I think the first thing, we want to solve the consumer journey. I think the consumer journey in crypto is broken. I think that's why you haven't seen the onboarding that you want. You have to go to 8 different places to perform 8 different functions. And then you have to use like this wallet extension as your nucleus and your source of truth for everything. Doesn't seem like a good journey to me. And I think there's a huge reason why crypto hasn't been able to break through the way that we've seen it, or we wanted it to break through over the last couple of years. I think we want to, be the hub of fun. I think we want to own a platform that curates, really fun experiences for end users. I think the financial elements of crypto enable a different type of gameplay and user behavior that I think we can own on one singular platform. And I think we're just interested in becoming one of the biggest and best L2s. I think over the course of time, you will see our growth and that pattern and that hope come true. And I'm pretty excited, to say the least, about the future of abstract now more than ever, if I'm being frank. I actually think, and I try to shoot people pretty straight, it's had its ups and downs, don't get me wrong, and I think it will continue to have its ups and downs. But at this moment today, I think I've never been more bullish. I think the team is super aligned. I think we've got everything completely figured out, and now it's just about executing and working backwards.
Okay, nice.
That's super bullish.
Do we
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go for it. I was wondering, obviously there's been a lot of talk about the airdrop, like crypto loves an airdrop. When is that? Do we have like a timeline on when that's going to be happening, or it still hasn't been announced?
Yeah, most people don't know, but I gave the abstract community already $100 million in Pengu when we airdropped. Like, it is, with abstract community and their wants for things, like I think it's just impossible to say that their time is spent anywing else, because we've already rewarded them so handsomely compared to, I think, every other community that I've seen. So they're already in the running for the 2-for-1 special, which is like a McDonald's Happy Meal. Just gets better the more you go through it. I'm not worried. I'm worried about winning. And then tokens are a byproduct of winning. You issue tokens when you're winning, when you're at the top of the totem pole. A lot of people, I think, take different approaches, but I think the people that launch tokens when they're not winning are grifters, and they're just grifting the opportunity to launch a token. I think it's pretty clear that if you look at our ecosystem, we're the complete antithesis of what I think it is to be a grifter. We're all about providing value for the space, bringing value to the space, opening the space up to millions, if not tens of millions, hopefully one day hundreds of millions of people. And we're focused on winning and building high integrity products, and ultimately building tokens that also are built to win, right? Like, I'm not building, when the token comes, the token's going to be a winning token. It's not going to be a shitty, stinky, horrible token that everybody, leaves and despises and is gone here for the next and gone to the next. So I think from that perspective, the community is just going to have to trust our process. They're going to have to believe in winners. They're going to have to place their bet on winners. They're going to win if and when that opportunity comes for them, for us to actually reap the rewards of our hard work and our labor. And if they want to be a part of that journey, they can. If they don't, they don't. There's no timeline. The timeline is whenever we're winning, and whenever it's ready to go out to the world.
Well, there's been a lot of
I feel
wins.
like what you're saying with the general ethos of Pudgy Penguins, like you're wanting to provide more value to the space. You're here for the long haul. I think that's kind of the perfect segue actually into what we're trying to do at OKX. With actually today, we had a massive product launch. I'm gonna share my screen actually. We had a massive product launch that is opening up the entire ecosystem of trading DEX tokens to our CeFi users. So now, basically, for the first time, we are making it possible for SEX users on OKX SEX to have access to the entire Solana ecosystem of tokens, including Pingu, of course. Pingu was already listed in OKX, but it's so exciting to see that now users can have this. We'll have this whole new wave of liquidity coming from our centralized exchange into the DEX trading and interface. So these users will have direct access. It's trading all in one place. There's zero gas fees. There's price match. There's all self custody as well. And I think it's pretty exciting for Pengu community, because basically now that means that there's going to be this massive cross pollination from other Solana tokens. So as the SEX users are coming into the Solana ecosystem, they're going to be able to swap easily and bridge easily between X layer, between Base, and between the Solana ecosystem. And we're going to be steadily rolling out more and more chains supported for CDFI. So this is what we're calling it, CDFI. And it's really, yeah, the blend of both our DeFi and CeFi platforms together. So I think, Luca, you probably have heard some alpha on this before. The announcement just went out 1 hour ago, but you've probably heard some alpha on this. What's your reaction as a founder? Because obviously you went through this whole pre-listing experience and trying to generate momentum when I'm sure it was pretty limited when you didn't have the CeFi listings initially, or maybe you launched with some. But yeah, like as a founder, like what was that pre-listing experience like, and how do you think this is going to affect the ecosystem for Pengu?
Well, here's a funny story that I'll just mention, but just before I even go there, just give, in the spirit of the story, I just want to say, give you guys your kudos. Like, this is where the space is going. It has to go this way. I think we all realize that. I think that's why companies like OKX and others are just building towards this new future. I can tell you, I remember talking to exchanges before anybody knew that Pengu existed. And I was speaking to them and I was telling them, I was like, look, this is going to be a huge token. It's going to be the biggest token of the year. We're the best market. I literally told them this verbatim. I said, we're the best marketing team in crypto. We're going to hit this thing out of the park. And then none of them took us seriously, or some did. Actually, I think OKX, Sam Crew, OKX actually is a really great listing team. And nobody was taking us seriously. The negotiations weren't going well. And I remember going back to my team and saying, this token's not going to go the way that we want it to unless we start marketing this now. And I kind of wanted the Pengu airdrop to be a surprise. I actually didn't want to market it as hard as we did. I wanted to keep it as under wraps as possible. And then we marketed it. We announced it. The thing got like 30 million views on the first announcement that we made. And all the exchanges kind of came, and we were able to get the listing process done really quickly post that. But I could only imagine if founders who didn't have the Pudgy Penguins community and the marketing chops that we did, like we were really getting no love. And most exchanges, I think OKX being one of the exceptions, again, Sam and crew are really great over there. But it was a really big pain in the butt up until we decided to do what we did best, which was make a ton of noise. And when we made a ton of noise, I think it became really easy. But I could, there's only so many companies in crypto that can make the noise and have the mind share that Pudgy Penguins can. And I think that put us in a really interesting spot. That I understand the problem. It gave me perspective in terms of understanding the problem. And so I appreciate, a lot of exchanges, OKX now clearly, building in this direction. When it's a little fair, that gives people the opportunity to be a part of something early on, without them having everything figured out. I think the difference at Pudgy is we had a lot figured out that allowed us to, get the listings that we did, which is basically every listing, but most do not. So I really appreciate the, steps in this direction.
Yeah, and I think it's a massive unlock too, the fact that we're supporting Solana from day one. Other exchanges, they've been supporting their own sort of native chains, and I think for OKX that was really important for us to unlock where the majority of DEX trading takes place is on Solana. So this is really a massive unlock for the entire ecosystem to be able to now have access to really any of these kinds of tokens. And So we're quite bullish on the chain, and yeah, kind of curious, Luca, like why did you, probably for the similar reasons, why did you decide to launch Pengu on Solana versus other chains?
Well, I would have launched it on my chain if my chain was live, but it wasn't at the time. And I launched it on Solana because it's just unequivocally obvious that, like, user onboarding, user consumer behavior today, it lives there just unanimously. I mean, just
Right.
even today, even Solana's
I was gonna say, even today, would you have launched Pengu on
even
any other
today,
chain
yes,
besides Solana?
because I do have my chain live. But what I learned was a release like Pengu before Trump, right? Trump token obviously took it to a new height. Before Trump, Pengu was the biggest drop. It was one of the biggest tests the Solana network ever had, right? Just the claims, the sell. It was just a monster release for them. And the infrastructure, the liquidity, the depth, all the different pieces needed to support a launch of that magnitude. Even today, I don't think our blockchain is suited for a drop of that release. Mind you, Pengu is probably a top 3-4 drop of all time in crypto history in terms of like activity and volume and claims and weight, right? Like Trump is probably the number one all time. There might be something in between. I'd probably even argue Pengu is number 2 or 3, but maybe there's a coin or two that I don't know about. And you have to have a lot of depth to that to be able to sustain that. Probably only 3 chains today that could sustain a load like that: Ethereum, Solana, BNB. Maybe Base probably. Yeah, I mean, got to give flowers where flowers is due. Base could probably sustain a drop like that, right? But there's a lot of moving pieces that are not even relevant to the chain, right? Just like capital allocators and people, there's a lot of third-party mechanics that even the chain can't control to go and support a launch like that.
It was
Yeah, I mean,
incredible. It was incredible. Honestly, like it was really good times. Yeah, I sometimes I look back to, when meme coins were just hot and like things were popping. It was fun, honestly. That December was great. And I think like the whole community is definitely, we'll always remember that day, and lives were changed. Who would have thought? This said, like obviously you've built such an incredible company, and this is something that must not be underestimated, especially given the landscape in which founders and Web3 need to operate. If you weren't growing Pudgy Penguins, what would you be doing?
I'd be doing consumer AI 100%.
Such as, for
I
example?
don't know exactly what, but I just see these guys. These guys are printing $10-20 million ARR on like bullshit forks of like using AI, and I know how they're distributing it, just distributing it through organic TikTok and through these different mediums. And if I wasn't doing this, I'd have a row of 20 engineers in an office, five groups of 4, 5 people to a group, all forking, great consumer apps, and then I'd just be distributing it, and I'd be at 50 million ARR probably, on my way to a multi-$100 million exit. That'd be my big swing if I wasn't doing crypto.
It's definitely an interesting, right? If you look at the landscape of like new, hot companies that are coming through, there's definitely a shift that's been happening that's putting marketing first and product second. Like you look at Cluely and these companies, they built an insane hype. They've, got so much attention, secured. I mean, I think they just secured like a 15 million investment from A16Z or something like this. It's kind of changed a bit the playbook, right, in which we operate. And there's a lot of people that are upset. Would you say that that's still like, is that something that is permanently changed? Is marketing first and product second? What's your take on this?
Yeah, there's different takes for different businesses. I will tell you, the businesses that I play in, it will be a marketing first business. I just always believe in that. It's my skill set. It's our team skill set. It's our Rolodex's skill set. But I think probably the biggest businesses in the world, right? Like I'm playing in an arena, at least my sites are in an arena of $5 to $25 billion in enterprise value. I would be kidding myself if my mind is thinking of 100 and 200 and $1 trillion of value. I haven't been able to process that yet. And I think one of my like OCD Achilles heels is just like my inability to not work chronologically. Like I have to hit milestones before I can think bigger and better. The best businesses in the world are product first and marketing last, which is ironic. But so I do think there's this scale of like businesses from 0 to 10 billion where I actually think marketing can drive the whole thing. I think probably past 10, 15, 20 billion, it becomes all about the product. And there's obviously outliers. I think there's plenty of products that are from 0 to 5 million that are all product first. My mind isn't wired that way. So I'm a marketing first entrepreneur. But that's why, to that same spirit, like I also don't want to ship Garbaggio. I've learned that.
Yeah, you
shipping
do have to
Garbaggio-
prove yourself at some point. It can't be all fluff, right? That people are gonna get bored.
Agreed.
Yeah, you
So
can't sustain the
so,
hype
but
for
the
so
beauty
long.
about my relationship with my team and why we've been so successful is because I've been this marketing with my marketing unit, but they've been able to make sure that when people look under the hood, it's not fugazi. It's like, oh shit, there's a lot of fucking great stuff here, right? And that's actually been a really great relationship. Is like my guys know I'm going to go out there and sell it, right, with the best of them. I have my SEAL Team 6 of salesmen. We're going to go out and sell this thing with the best, to the best of them. But then Peter and Lorenzo and those guys are just making sure that, like, yeah, when you look under the hood, you can't really talk negatively about it because it is a very high integrity product base. The IP is super high integrity. And it's
I
impossible
mean,
to
I'm
refute.
holding it
It's
right
everywhere.
now. We're holding and
Yep.
wearing it. So
Big.
yeah.
Big fans. But I will say, I mean, there's nothing better than a Pudgy Penguins event. Speaking of which, I know we're just about wrapping up the show today. It's been so awesome having you on, Luca. We did say we were going to drop some alpha, and we are definitely going to hold our word to that, right? So, announcing today on the Top Signal show, we are going to be having the first ever inaugural Pudgy Penguins OKX Alphas Art Basel event. It's going to be called Mild West Casino. We're so excited. It's going to be on December 3rd. You're going to have to come on out to the villa. There's going to be casino games. We're going to have a screening of the Mild West film, which is actually its own film that OKX produced, starring Vincent Cassel. So he's a very famous French actor. This is like Hollywood level production. I actually saw the film this past year at Tribeca Film Festival. Fantastic film. It's about 12 minutes in length, so it's a short film, but everybody will be come in and we're going to have different screening times. There's going to be a whole networking side of the event as well as DJ, food, drinks, and of course, it wouldn't be an OKX Alphas event if it weren't for an opportunity for some of the top traders in the space to show what their favorite trading tools are in OKX decks. And then we're also going to have a really fantastic time together, just like mingling and getting to know the community better. A lot of people don't realize what OKX Alpha is. It's actually a really wonderfully curated group of top on-chain traders who are sharing their insights and get to help build with us at OKX. And so what better community to partner with in the US than Pudgy Penguins? So we're really excited to be doing this together with you guys, Luca. You guys have been fantastic. I've really loved working with the team behind the scenes on this event. I think it's going to be so special. We just had our big OKX Alpha Summit in Singapore. And so this is going to be our first time having an OKX Alphas Connect event in the US. And it's just really about that. It's about connecting, about having a good time. We've got more than 3 hours of casino games. We're going to have all these different like blackjack, poker, all the different kinds of popular games, you name it. They're going to be there. So it's going to be fun. Save the date, December 3rd. We'll see you there.
Exciting.
See you there.
Yeah, Luca, are you hyped? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I can't wait.
We're hyped to see you there. Yeah. Awesome. Well,
All right.
Thanks so much again, Luca, for joining us today. Yeah, it was awesome having you. Shout out Chad as always. It was great to see you tuning in and being part of the conversation. We have over 6,500 people who've been tuning in over the course of the hour. So pretty awesome to have that viewership, and we always appreciate it. We love seeing you guys there in the chat, and we're looking forward to the next one next week.
I'm so excited. Thank you again. Thanks, Luca. Thank you, Chad. You guys are awesome. We love hosting Top Signal. It's always Always fun episodes. And we're going to have some pretty sick guests. So see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.